the drought and keeping our temperatures down in the east, we have heat alerts from California to Montana. Not something you want to see as crews battle wildfires in multiple states. This is America's Morning Headquarters. I'm meteorologist Steph Abrams alongside meteorologist Lynette Charles and Jordan Steele. Jordan, the other issue is we have that monsoon kicking in. That could cause flash flooding on some of those burn scars as well.
Oh, I know.
Then you can go back out, right?
Exactly.
And we're going to get another round of showers and storms in the Midwest and the Northeast. We had rain kind of climb up the I-95 corridor, and then we have this big piece of energy in the atmosphere winding around. And so that's going to give us another chance of showers. You can see some of the wind reports that we had with this and some of those heavier downpours. But there's still moisture being pulled up. Where you have the red and the orange and the yellows, that's where you have the higher moisture, and there's still plenty where you have green. It's just that much higher along the coast. There's that piece of energy that I was talking about in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. That's going to swing through. It does clear out for our Friday. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel with this, which is great. What's not so great is there's the possibility of, some flooding. It'll be very localized. Showers this morning, basically upstate New York and into New England. Of course, anything north of New York City is considered upstate New York, which I just think is always so wild. Like, I feel like upstate New York should be Albany, Buffalo line northbound. Is anyone with me on that? I mean, it's like, why is New York City upstate New York, or north of New York City upstate New York? That's the entire state. So those showers are going to clear out, and then they're going to get replaced by more coming in as we head later in the day, and they last through our entire Wednesday. And of course, the diurnal heating that will help kick things off as well into the afternoon hours, but it does stay active as we head into the overnight. So tomorrow, western New York all the way down into Ohio. That's where we'll see the chance for some thunderstorms. Listen, there's not a big severe threat with this. We just don't have those strong winds, Jordan, coming in. We do have some jet energy winds, but not enough that it's going to cause super severe weather. But I want to show everyone before we get to you, Jordan. I know I'm taking your time. Look at Friday, though. There's the light. It's going to clear out.
Oh, my gosh. It's going to be beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and of course, it's nice to get the rain, especially when...
Welcome back into America's Morning Headquarters. A stormy start to the week, knocking down trees on an apartment complex, sadly killing a man in Charlotte, North Carolina, and a funnel cloud churns over a field in Texas as rain and storms continue today. And Jordan, this is the thing. We don't actually have a huge severe weather threat, but you can still get outcomes like this on just a stormy day.
You can never count it out. That's exactly right. Hey, we have some video here.
I've never seen a view like that from the hurricane hunters. And there's the globe. There's absolutely nothing. I mean, you see a little bit of convection down towards the intertropical convergence zone, but otherwise no issues here. And that's how it will stay. But give it a couple weeks, the tropics could literally just flip a switch, like no dimmer, just boom, and be explosive. So here's a look at the visible satellite. This is as if we are sitting on the moon and we are taking video of what's happening down here on Earth. And so you need the sun in order to do that. So watch, that's the sun is set, right? And you'll see the sun comes up and it illuminates what we're looking at. It's like shining a flashlight on the Earth, and there's the Saharan dust. You can see this is from another, Saharan burst, if you will, that's over into the islands here. So it is quite dry out there in the tropics for us, and that means that we don't have anything to worry about. These you don't have to worry about. This is the ITCZ, where everything kind of comes together, lifts up. We do have a couple areas to watch for us off the coast of Mexico there, but we're not too concerned about those. Notice that Saharan air layer continues. There are waves, though. You can see this little ball of energy right there, and it just is getting choked off by the dust. So we don't have any, problems right now, but notice that we haven't even really started that upswing into the hurricane season. Still 93% of the season remaining, and this can flip literally on a dime, a completely different switch. We have very warm, record-setting, surface temperatures in the Atlantic, very calm winds. That allows for things to grow. But notice where we do have, in August, a lot of these storms originate far out in the Atlantic, what we call the main development region. So what should you be doing right now? You want to know your evacuation zone. If everyone evacuates at one time, it just makes for a disaster. So evacuate only when they tell you to do so. Buy your supplies that you can get now. Wood, flashlight, batteries, insurance. This is huge because if you make changes, sometimes there's a waiting period that you have to worry about. Our twin systems here off of Mexico, 30% chance of development. They are over warm waters, but again, we're not too concerned about either of these rotations. Thankfully, they'll be pulling away from shore, you can see there, and going into cooler waters, which really just kind of has them, melting away. So we don't really have to worry about that. But here's a look at our names for the Eastern Pacific. We've only had one storm. Number 2 is Bud. Number 2 is Bud on the list. And of course, these go all the way into Zeke for us. And if we look at our system, we do have in the West Pac, this is quite impressive here, super typhoon with winds at 105 miles an hour right now. It is moving north at around 10 miles an hour. And then it does look like it's going to hook over Taiwan and eventually into China. And notice that we're anticipating this. They're going to get quite strong with winds up to 140 miles an hour once it's making that turn heading towards Taiwan with the potential winds of 110 miles an hour, Jordan.
All right, let's bring it back home.
Helping keep down the temperatures and help with the drought in the east. We still have a lot of heat in the west. Heat alerts from California to Montana, not something you want to see when crews are battling multiple wildfires. This is America's Morning Headquarters. I'm meteorologist Stephanie Abrams alongside meteorologist Jordan Steele and Lynette Charles. Jordan, we are getting rain right where we don't need it. That's back in Texas from Houston, where Beryl just doused them with double-digit rainfall totals all the way into the Dallas area.
Yeah, yesterday morning was a busy morning.
But different in the Northeast. Just trying to think of a little analogy, like when you eat something, you're like, it's the same, but it's different. Yeah, I know. When maybe it's like something cooked from somebody that's like a really good cook.
Macaroni and cheese.
The same, but
Exactly. Very different.
Very different, Lynette. That's a good one right there. Do you guys like stuff in your macaroni and cheese? No, or are you just a purist?
No, purist.
Okay.
Yeah, and it has to be baked.
Okay, has to be baked. Jordan, are you?
Yeah, I could do like bacon sounds good in macaroni and cheese.
A lot
I
of
haven't
people
had
like
macaroni and cheese in a
lobster.
long time.
Yeah, lobster.
Oh, I do
in
like
there.
lobster
macaroni and cheese.
Yeah,
That's good.
That is good.
I'm telling you. In the atmosphere here, this is same but different of what Lynette was talking about in the Northeast. Because we have the rain, we have some of the stronger winds, we have some of those thunderstorms, but what's causing this is a little bit different. We have plenty of moisture, again, the same, right? You got the cheese, you got the macaroni, you've got the ingredients, but there's something that's a little different. Like Lynette said, you got to bake it. That's adding that little extra oomph to the mac and cheese. Well, you know what's going to add a little extra oomph to these storms? That. And it's going to rotate through as we head the rest of the week and give us the potential for some very localized flooding. This is where you're going to get some of those heavier downpours, kind of like what we saw in Dallas yesterday, very localized. But when it's right over a big city like that, you get some big time problems. Rain and showers here through New England. Otherwise, you can see the energy causing those showers and thunderstorms here into Wisconsin. And all of that's going to continue to rotate east. And we get that daytime heating. So that has everything kind of bubbling up. Think about when you put a pot on the stove and everything gets hotter and hotter and bubbles up and you see, all the rolling boil. That's what happens in the atmosphere. We basically, have a little boil that's going on here. And that means that you'll see some heavier showers and some gustier thunderstorms. But by the way, average to below average temps for us here throughout much of the east. So at least we've done away with the heat, but don't worry, it actually is going to come charging back as we head towards the end of the month and the beginning of next month. Possibility again of a thunderstorm. We don't have a setup. We do have some jet level winds coming in, so that could give us just a little enhancement of some of these storms. But Jordan, we are not expecting some huge outbreak of severe weather. We get all this rain again Thursday, but look at Friday.
Gonna be nice.
Clearing out.
So what should we do?
Ooh, that's a good question. There's
should we do?
so much to do this time of year in the Northeast outside with all the hiking and biking and fishing and
clear out like that. It's going to be gorgeous. I think.
Welcome back into America's Morning Headquarters. A stormy start to the week, knocking down trees onto an apartment complex, sadly killing a man in Charlotte, North Carolina. And a funnel cloud churns over a field in Texas as rain and storms continue today. And Jordan, I think that this is just a really good warning that you don't need a big severe weather outbreak in order to have big and deadly consequences.
That's exactly right. And check out this Ring doorbell camera capturing some of the rounds of
the SAL season, Saharan air layer season, and getting into a season where we don't have as much of this. You can see it. I mean, isn't that tremendous? A huge, ejection of the Saharan air layer coming off of Africa, and that goes across the Atlantic. You can see a little bit of the lingering of the last, ejection of it into Florida and also into portions of the islands. So let's talk about the tropics and what we are going to be dealing with, because all of that is just dusty, air. And so things can't really develop. Here again, this is our visible satellite. And what I was showing you before is infrared. And infrared satellites are temperature seeking, and the visible satellites are if you're sitting on the moon and you have your camera phone and you're taking video. So you need the sun to come up, and that's what flashes across this satellite. That's the sun. And now we're in darkness when you don't see anything. So we need the sun to really help us out, and then you can see that Saharan air layer that's coming in. We don't have any issues in the Atlantic because of that, and we also have a couple areas to watch there in the East Pac we'll get to in a minute. But I want to point out is that we have seen tropical waves coming off Africa. I mean, you can see the energy. There it is right there. But it's just totally, entrained in all of that dry air. So one of the things that's going to stop it from developing. But we still have 93% of the hurricane season remaining, and things really start to ramp up as we get into August, and things really ramp up with those waves coming off of Africa here in the MDR, the main development region. That's where we have very warm temperatures. In fact, temperatures, have been record-setting month after month after month this year, and every dot you see is where a storm has originated, going all the way back to 1950. So what should you be doing right now? Know where you're going to evacuate to, know what zone you're in. That is key. You should only evacuate when your zone says to. You want to get the supplies that are going to last forever. You can get the tuna in the can. You can get batteries for your flashlight. Check your flashlights. Make sure the batteries haven't kind of rotted out in there. And insurance, because if you do want to change your insurance, then there's usually a waiting period, 30, maybe 60 days, depending on your window. But call your insurance provider. Make them go through your policy with you and be like, explain exactly how I'm covered, so that you know exactly what you've got. These two areas in the East Pac, they're going to head into some cooler waters. So it's one of the reasons we're not anticipating either of these spins to really get going and cause any problems. They might kick out some waves here into Mexico and Cabo San Lucas as they are going by, but nothing that's going to be too problematic for us here. We do, however, have a huge list of names to get through. Bud will be the next on the list here for the East Pac. And Jordan, I want to show this one. Super typhoon right now. It winds at 105 miles an hour. It is going to strengthen as it makes its way towards Taiwan and then eventually to mainland China.
It's interesting growing up in Southern California.
West and the Northeast. And last hour we were talking about things that are the same but different. And Lynette gave us mac and cheese and all the different ways that it can be made with stuff inside, maybe baked, not baked, different types of cheeses. And I was just thinking, you know what? Carrot cake. It's my favorite. One of my favorite cakes is carrot cake. Sweet potato pie. Oh, sweet potato pie. I mean, all items, I guess. But, right? I think we're just hungry. I think we need to eat breakfast on the show or something. I'll tell you what, this is not a very sweet forecast. As we go through the day, you see the showers that came up from the south yesterday. Those are going to linger along surface boundary. And then what the heck's going on here? What's dropping into the Midwest that gave us some gustier winds and some heavier downpours? Well, it's a piece of energy in the atmosphere, and it's going to swing all the way to the East Coast. We've got moisture. Where you see the red on the map along the coast, that's where you have higher moisture amounts. And then as you go inland, it's green. That means we have moisture. It's just not like through the roof type of moisture. This is our cold pocket aloft. That's going to swing in, and that gives us instability. And that is going to keep us unsettled through our Thursday. Now, there's a potential for some flash flooding in some localized areas, but nothing that's going to be, super duper significant. Notice we have all the little spins in the atmosphere, this whole thing just dropping down. It's quite a large piece of energy that is all going to be swinging east here. I mean, you can see another little piece of energy there. There's just a lot going on in the atmosphere now. And that's as we look in the mid to upper levels. We also have surface features too. That's helping kick off the clouds that we have this morning here into the Northeast. So as we go through the day, daytime heating, boom, that kicks off some of those bigger boomers where all of a sudden, things darken, you feel that cool breeze come in, you know that it's going to pour down, and they last into the overnight into our Thursday as well, with the chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. Now, nothing severe, but as we showed you, we had yesterday a tree fall on a home and somebody died. That was in the south, and that's the type of thing you could get with these storms. There's not going to be massive flash flooding, but if it's right where your home is, you could get some serious damage. So keep that in mind through the day today, tomorrow, into our Thursday. But Jordan, Friday, the sun is back. And notice, overall, it's pretty light with the heavier stuff, mid-Atlantic south. But you could get heavier downpours within this.
Now we got to figure out what we're going to do this weekend, because it's going to be
dream running race on Earth, 135 miles nonstop from Death Valley to Mount Whitney, California, from below sea level to in over 100-degree heat to an altitude of over 8,300 feet.
Dang. 100 endurance athletes, 21 nations, 26 American states. They're taking on that challenge, and it's all going on right now. So joining us to talk about the Badwater 135 is President and Chief Adventure Officer of Adventure Corps, Chris Kosman, here with us this morning to chat a little bit about this insane event. Chris, we really thank you for joining us. Can you explain the conditions that the athletes really have to go through and for how long they have to endure it?
We do have a big burst of that Saharan dust coming off of Africa that will go across what we call the main development region. This is from another burst. It's been pretty consistent, but this is the peak season for the Saharan air layer. And so that's why it's been quiet since Beryl, but we'll take it because the second that flip switches, woof, better watch out with that. So that is one look at the Saharan air layer. We're gonna give you another look. This is a visible satellite. If you're sitting on the moon and you have your smartphone, you're taking video, what you're seeing here is the sun. The sun goes down and then the sun comes back up and it shows us all the clouds. We've layered on the Saharan air layer. You can't see the clouds though, unless you have the sun up. So think about when it's dark, you can't see anything. When you turn the lights on, you can. That's what this is. You're literally just looking at the clouds, opposed to this satellite over here, the clouds that you're seeing there. That's a temperature-seeking satellite, and so that's how you can see the clouds. So what is going on with our hurricane season? We're quiet here in the Atlantic, a little busy off of the East Pac here. But notice within the Saharan air layer, we've seen pieces of energy come off of Africa, and you can see that little spin. Can't get going, though. Can't get going. Here's more energy coming off and spinning. Can't get going, and one of the reasons is because of that dust. 93% of the season remaining, and things really ramp up as we go through August. And we expect that, flip to switch because we have very warm water temperatures and we also have very weak winds. So that gives us a threat for really big storms to develop and a lot of storms to develop. That's why the forecast is so high. Notice that in August, we get a lot more systems developing. So right now, know your evacuation zone, your shelter. Buy some of the supplies that won't go bad, maybe tuna, batteries, check your flashlights, check your insurance because you can have a waiting period if you make any changes. And I know insurance can be a little overwhelming and intimidating. Just call your insurance provider or send them an email and be like, please walk me through exactly what I have when it comes to this. These two areas, they're gonna go off into some cooler waters, so we're not too concerned about those, but they will send out waves. Even just little systems like this, they can really rough up the ocean, so watch out for that as they spin westbound through the Pacific there. Next name on the list is Bud in the East Pac here, and then of course we go all the way through Zeke. And that's not the only player in town. We also have this, a super typhoon moving north at 10, but it is anticipated to take a left-hand hook. You can even see it getting better organized on the satellite there as it moves north. And it's going to get even stronger as it makes its way towards Taiwan and then eventually into China. Jordan.
All right, meanwhile, back at home, we're talking